Efutun semana agriculture unti ya mutiasha. Yadiabo agriculture samuno yadiabo AKUAFO samuno yadiabo.
AKUAFO TV Agricultural Channel.
Prof. Please let's do a better one for him. So, Prof had to leave us. She has to attend a quick meeting, so I'll be taking over from this point. At this point, the rest of the speakers are not going to come to the podium to speak. They are going to be seated there. We're giving them 10 minutes each, after which there will be question and answer session. You get to ask any question that you would want to ask regarding this particular subject of smallholder farmers in the country. At this point, let's move on to our next speaker, who is in the person of Kamaldeen Yakub, the CEO of Tro Factors. Please let's give a round of applause.
Good morning, the Dean of the School of Agric, professors, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be here, not because I want to sell my technology, which is Tro Tractor, but because of some of the things that are coming out from the university and what's happening on the field. For example, from what you just heard from Prof telling you about the better ingredient for cocoa and banku and what's the last one? KK. Yes. So my name is Kamal. I work at trotractor.com. It's a company that allows farmers to have access to tractors and also allows tractor owners to have access to large smallholder farmers. Most of the time, tractors are meant for farms of farmers themselves. So if I buy a tractor, it's because I have a farm and I don't want to have any shortcomings when it comes to preparing my land. But most of the times, I finish using the tractor and I still have an idle time during the farming season. So we leverage on this idle time and said we want to create a business out of it. Now this happened 3 years ago when Cosmos Energy started a program called Cosmos Innovation Center. And I'm glad that wherever we go, they are still supporting us and they are here actually. So later in the day, we will hear from the people who made this happen through money and advice and mentorship. So 3 years ago, Cosmos wanted to affect agriculture, which I will not talk too much about it. Mr. Ben and his colleague are here and they will talk more on that. But luckily, from their program, we emerged the winners and got some seed investment capital from them to start our business. And our main objective is to make it easy for young people to have, not just young people, for people in agriculture to have easy access to mechanization. And we have a big ambition. The ambition is that we want to, in the next 20 years, send the cutlass and the hoe to museum. And if you look at it, it's actually possible. 20 years back, if you have a phone, I'm very sure it's not a touch screen. 30 years back, if you have a phone, then you are lucky. So this is in communication. So in that sector, 30 years ago, if you want to send an information to someone in just Dodua, you have to write and send through, and it will take a long time, snail mail. But now you have so many options. You can call, you can WhatsApp, you can Skype, you can Facebook, so that happened in communications, and that can happen, we believe, in mechanization. 20 years from now, people should just do what we are going to do. There's a test we're going to do here. So if you have a phone, bring out your phone. Everyone, we would want everybody to participate in this. We didn't anticipate this to be lectures, but once we are in the university, it has to be, yeah. Oh, phone, you phone. We will dial star 714 star 85 hash. That's it there. Well, yeah, wait also. 714 star 85 hash. 714 star 85 hash. Yes, call it or dial it. Yeah, so tractor. These are the services that normally farmers use. Yeah, so choose your service. If it is plowing, you choose one. If it is planting, you choose 3. If it is harrowing, yeah. Other, you can choose other. There are other. Spraying and harvesting and the rest. Yeah. So if you choose the next, then it will take you to another platform that says, tells you the amount, and you can enter how many acres you want. You want to plow, or you want to plant, or you want to harrow. Now, if you follow these steps, now you can stop, because I know most of you are not ready to. But at the end of it, you will follow the steps, and it will ask you your location, it will ask you your crop type and the rest, and then it will ask you to pay with mobile money. Now, once we receive mobile money from you, that's a simple contract between us and you to provide you a tractor within 72 hours. Now, this is the challenge we have. In most of the areas where we have a lot of tractors, it works perfect. In areas, Western region and Upper East regions and Greater Accra region, we don't have a lot of tractors scattered. So mostly we have to disappoint a lot of our farmers. Now that is because of the ambition we've also set ourselves and by our investors and advisory board. They wanted us to tackle the solution of mechanization with all that we can. And we started it at a hard point where the technology is ready and there's no infrastructure in terms of tractors available to back that. So now the challenge we have is to get tractors into so many areas so everyone in Ghana can have access to these mechanization services. It will surprise you that in areas where they have infrastructure laid down, like Zimbabwe, we have just launched last month in Zimbabwe, and we have 5 times the tractors that we have on the platform in Zimbabwe than in Ghana. Which means there is a lot more work to do here in Ghana than other places. So going back to the unit economics, Prof mentioned M1210 as one of the best hybrid maize. And I can see from his calculations that he has included all the costs that is from mechanization as well. What that means is, you can all be here and order and farm without moving out of this place, and make 3 cities on every, or more than 3 cities from all your 1 cities. That is on the money side. On the food security side, it means that we don't have to import maize anymore. That's sweet for the government. But on a bigger economy side, what it means is that we'll save more on our foreign exchange, and then money, our currency would not be depreciating all the time. So we might be looking at these things as experiment and small businesses for young people who Cosmos Energy and Cosmos Innovation Center want to do so many things. But it's much bigger than that. It's business that is going to change how we produce food. And it's also easy because it's technology. Once Trotro Tractor is there, other businesses supported by Cosmos and any other business that has technology involved can just tap into our system. So for example, you have 5,000 farmers that you work with. You don't have to manually be recording all that with your Excel or your book or pen. We can give you access onto our platform, and you can manage all your farmers on our platform. You can book and schedule for tractor services for them. That is you being a farmer-based organization or an aggregator. If you provide seeds as your business, we can give you an API, a connection onto our platform that allows you also to get access to the farmers who just plowed their farms, be it maize, be it soybeans or any other thing, and you know exactly what type of fertilizer to give them and what type of seeds to give them and where to get them. Now, interconnected activities using technologies is what is going to change our agri space, and we believe that this is very possible in the next few years. We're giving ourselves 20 years, but I will just keep quiet if my bosses, my investors weren't here. They think that 20 years is a long time for us to make this change. Thank you very much. So we'll be here, we'll be answering a lot of questions. We want to interact with anyone who has interest to do business with us. Thank you very much.
Good morning to everybody. I must say that I'm first a journalist, and based on a few things, practicing my journalism, I just chanced on an opportunity together with a team to set up the Chamber for Tourism. What happened? It's very linked to your industry, and it's very linked to service and hotels. So we went to a big hotel, which I'm not going to mention their names because they are our members now, and it was poor service, big hotel, 5-star hotel, poor service. We didn't like the food because everything that was being given out there was quite foreign, and we 50 journalists that. My name is Udelia. I'm the CEO of the Chamber for Tourism, and I'm also a part-time journalist with the Multimedia Group. I've been a journalist for 17 years. I think gradually I'll be weaning myself off it and using my communications to really help various industries. And I think one of the major ones is actually the tourism industry. I actually studied geography, which had an option in tourism here at the University of Ghana. And then I also did my master's from the University of Cape Coast, which was in oil and gas communication. So that's just a bit about myself. So straight to the story that I was talking about. We got to that hotel and everything there was so foreign to us in terms of food. and the customer service there was poor. And so I wrote a piece, and then I sort of like broadcasted it on my WhatsApp page, and everybody on that page who had had an experience in that hotel came to give some negative comments or some negative experience. And so a friend of mine actually sent me a message back and said, why don't you put together the Chamber for Tourism and use that chamber to sort of help the industry, improve upon customer service, create opportunities for them and all that. And so by 5 months ago, we put it together. And guess what? I was pregnant by then, delivered, and right after a month, we zoomed in to preparing and doing things for the industry. And I must say that we've so far done quite a lot for a young industry. So one of the things I would say is that from the very research that we have done as a chamber, from the very first day somebody as a tourist enters into this economy or enters into the shores of Ghana, up until the day they leave, everybody going to different countries would like to eat something that they're comfortable about. And quite a few people would like to explore and to eat stuff that they are not too confident with. And so one of the things that this country should be focusing on is really promoting domestic tourism. Because if we as a country in every year is trying to chase the 1 million or 1.5 million that is out there, and our population right here is over 26 to 27 up to 30 million, and we have quite a middle class population that can travel around the country and use our hotel services, or corporates who will eat our food, which is mainly how you come in as farmers. That is actually the kind of thing that we should really labor, to concentrate on. From some research that I put together from the US, it states that about 50 to 90% of everything that tourists from different countries come to spend on your economy gets back into their own economy. So from food, they are going to eat food that is basically their own, or that they are quite familiar with. And then from transportation, they're using transportation from their economy, because we don't really have a national carrier. And then perhaps the only thing that they will do is use your travel services that is in country, and then also probably use your hotels. Ideally, when they're coming, they probably will use hotels that they are also familiar with. So we're left with domestic tourism, and for me, the concentration we should be taking a look at is how do we really take advantage of domestic tourists and this kind of industry to make sure that we're taking advantage as farmers. One of the things I also discovered is that, for example, in Haiti, what they're doing is connecting all chefs to farmers, so that if farmers have tomatoes, if farmers have onion, or if farmers are producing stuff that are actually not even bought by these people, they can actually decide to tell the farmers that these are the kinds of things that we require, or these are the kinds of standards that we're expecting, and so that we can buy from you. One of the areas that when the oil and gas sector started, that we thought that people could quickly key in was the kind of produce that these people would need. But every time it comes back to standards. And so if we're looking at some of these things, these are the kinds of technologies we can be looking at and taking advantage of. The other thing is that I also discovered, for example, that there are a couple of people that are really getting innovative with farming. I did some farming when I was young, but my father was a farmer and a teacher. But so many people in this generation don't even know how pepper grew in the first place. And these are the kinds of things that we're coming to or having to live with every single day. If you take some population of maybe students, and then you ask them even how simple things are grown, they may be struggling to tell you exactly what's going on. So can we get a bit innovative with our farming and say that we will plant and, for example, invite people to our farms as a form of domestic tourism for young people, for schools, for universities, for individuals who are looking for the opportunity to learn and to go beyond what they currently do. There's a farmer who's currently doing that for his local farm, for, of course, people who eat chocolate in various countries and don't know where it's coming from and what it takes to even produce that. So it's sort of like dedicates about 3 days in the week to really show farmers, because I mean the crops are already there and he may not necessarily have to do a lot. So he's taking advantage of how now his grown cocoa farm is also generating some level of revenue for him again when it comes to agri-tourism. And that is another avenue that we could also be taking a look at. Yesterday, I had a discussion with a young man who says they grow pineapples and they are also moving into agri-tourism. They usually will invite people, or when people come to this country, they show them to their pineapple farms, among other kinds of things that they're doing. So where we have gotten to as a generation, you either innovate or die, and the farm implements that we're using and moving to becoming bigger and better will have to use a lot of technology, a lot of innovation to be able to reach more than what we're producing. And that's what I'd like to encourage all of us to get creative, innovative, and find means of still communicating whatever we're doing to the rest of the world. Finally, what I'll say is that there sits a lot of opportunities, especially for farmers, especially for people who want to add innovation to farming. And I'd say that Churchill Tractor, for example, the media chases him out every day. There are times when we don't even get him because he doesn't have the time and he probably is all over the country. And why are we chasing him? It's because he's doing something different. He's doing something innovative. And so if we want to have the level of attention and communication that comes with selling whatever we have, apart from the traditional markets and moving to other markets, one of the things would have to get us to really be innovative. I'd also say that for research institutions like WACI, there are so many opportunities also that comes with the media. And so, well, maybe we can connect after here and see how we can communicate also your innovations, because several times some of these things, because I've done some work for crop research as well, and a lot of times they come up with varieties and it's sometimes difficult to market it, and it sits up on the shelves as research, which I think that there are so many farmers out there who also need this kind of thing. So I think I'd like to end here, and if there are any questions, I'll take them.
Thank you. Mekachi kakra. Seventy in penny for Asama and nobody at as AKUAFO Yawaha. Na Emer Abba, a who here say, me I may say, Omu, I may you create the Minia Berma and I mean about what a high name. Emer Abba say, Rebecca and Wabo. Na Mwaya Omabuko Ache yes, I can, because Debia Yeshia yɛka ensempa ɛka ɛfa akuafo ho ɔmo de enema toto akwan mu ɛma yɛn ba ɛnka yɛn sa adentia ɛnka yɛn sa because even phone a yɛbɛhwɛ so ɛde abo sɛ yɛbɛnya tractor sɛ yɛbɛnya assistance no yɛnim no use de bia yɛde yɛsi yɛ na yɛyɛ ahiafoɔ sɛ wokɔ wɔkura ase wɔn sɛ obi kɔ afuo mu no wohu ne sɛ n'adwuma no a ɔrekɔ no ɛyɛ bodwabodwa ɛho ɛnhia ba ɛnam ɛno so ana yɛn nyinaa yɛte ha ɛnam ɛno so enti na avenues akɛse aba wɔ dwuma a yɛdi wɔ yɛafuo no so enti sɛ mete adeɛ na ɛsɛ bɛgyina a yɛn nuanom akuafo yɛbɛka abom na yɛhu deɛ yɛn mpanimfoɔ yi pɛ sɛ ɔmo yɛ ma yɛn na aka yɛn nsa abɛduru baabi a yɛyɛ adwuma no sɛdeɛ ɛbɛyɛ a yɛn nso yɛbɛnya bi ahwɛ yɛn ma esukuu yɛbɛnya bi nso ɛde abɔ yɛn ho mmɔden ɛwɔ afuo a yɛyɛ adwuma wɔ so no so enti sɛ ne yɛhyia a mede mu nyinaa mahyia sɛ yɛni hyia yɛn mpanimfoɔ yɛmfa yɛ haw ɛtoto wɔn anim na mmoa bi a wɔn wɔde ma yɛn no momfa ɛma yɛn na yɛn nso yɛma kua adwuma no a yɛyɛ no ɛnyɛ attractive. And to the young ones, I like to end by saying that listen to our speakers. Let us try and change the misconception that farming is for the peasant or farming is just for the poor. No, the avenue is very big. We have about, if I am not, about 70% unemployed youth in Ghana. Yes. From graduate to even those that they are not even educated. The only thing they are having is their phone, data, and social media. Myself, I am a new emerging brand, and I'm telling you that together with my team at Be It, we are not going to let you sleep. Looking at all these opportunities, we are going to be on your neck for you to work. The land available, it is your office. It is what you grow. Because as I'm seated here, the green pepper farm that I am having, if I cultivate 10 bags, a bag is about 10,000 Ghana cedis. So calculate it by 10. A banker is not paid up that amount, no. So what are you saying? There's an opportunity for us. The youth, let us rise to this occasion. Let us take the agribusiness serious. Don't sit at home and say, AKUAFO adwuma, me de me ntimi ndo, me de ahu hia, se say de ahu abehia. Enti untimi ka se unni adwuma nan, eye. Enti no, meboa o, ama wa ye adwuma e wo wafuo so. Me da basi.
So now I would like to call on Mr. Benjamin John Kessie to wrap it all up for us.
AKUAFO mamu nyina achi. Yeah, say you need AKUAFO ebeshia na many aje. It's Minimia Fred Phillips. Yeah, share your Juma Aseno and near AKUAFO and a chassis. Say you can say last mile to the farmer side. Not a year. And near AKUAFO will be green, I hear Juma. Baby, I'm a cousin, yeah, Michelle, I am asking Manasim cook in favor and you know in ye. To be who son is a wedding visa. Nay, idea manager home. You didn't get mamma any better home, dear, and so many better. Now, me tough funny in any say. And say, I'll cast out for church on all Cassano say, farming is business. Media may say, farming is big business. See, to the perception we've had about agriculture or agribusiness has not helped us as a country. And I'll tell you a short story. It is my story. I was studying accounting and economics. Today, I call myself a farmer and agribusiness person, agribusiness specialist. And I work with young entrepreneurs. So TTL came through our program at the Cosmos Innovation Center, where we groom young entrepreneurs in agribusiness and help them find the right solutions to challenges in the agribusiness value chain and make money out of that, whilst they also provide impact or provide results to the consumers. Me sorry that ba be and I'm catching my men and papa said, "You send me here queer." Mammy knows me be here. And he, me Fred, so for penny back. Say, only me even go. And the Bannerman say, I send me after the trim kaka. Because for someone who is studying accounting and economics, my father retired at KNUST as a deputy finance officer. So I was just in line following my father as an accountant. But me say me queer. The boy me back who I say, na me papa ti queer you are saying. Who said the city and also work a vision about farming. Never retired to the full. The top one in say, "Queer no a business, ye dear brought a check a will groom hand. May ye juma war techno may ye juma win cocoa. Now ye near Piafo shire and some year near tie catcher when they say, no idea, a jumadin. Eyepa. Jumadin, Egusi say, Jumadin, say, I'm far above food in India and Kamua. Hefan. Yane, a mighty or Cosmos Innovation Center, a year, or how about a young woman they said, AKUAFO, the kind of technology now. As a full transport, a kind. AKUAFO, the entire for technology near Juma. May a Juma company be a friend is so. The so called far body, I have for council, any AKUAFO year judgment. He said, yeah, if your extension officer's name, farmers ratio, so farmer being to me, and extension officer, baby about whom and asking me, no one's an affinity per year. Next, so no. Ye first time where a plan so work we are for. We are for ye Juma Yensis. Yensis say, ye fire Bruno bag of was saying your toy. Your toy fertilizer was saying, ye Troy. Lebano, Badino, ye Troy. And Yanima, Badino, O Troy. And yes, we are not putting the business side of the agribusiness into the whole process. And Member say kasa everyone into no. And same for kakra bi am pese me di jamo and some kakra e bin focus on me fine. Prof said Africa can feed the world if we adopt the right technology. And I'll say let's add innovation and renovation. Because there are some practices that we have in our part of the world that are good, but they need some bit of tweaking that will help us to be able to be productive and be efficient on the field. And the media, madam, I'm happy you're from the media, you've gotten into this space and also connecting the tourism chamber to this is very important. See, what I've always said is that agribusiness is one of the space that would help, if we are smart about it, would help bring a lot of people together. When you talk about tractor, for instance, I'm going to tell you a few things about some of the companies that we've invested in over the past 3 years. When you talk about tractor, Kamal is not a farmer. Emmanuel, the co-founder, is not a farmer. They love agriculture, but they did not have to study agriculture to do what they're doing. They are coming up with different skill sets. Kamal is an accountant. Emmanuel is the social development, right? But they have come to learn how to apply these skills into solving problems while they make money out of it. So if you have an agribusiness company, you need people who will market them. You need people who will come up with designs for them. You need people who will come up with how to design a product that will satisfy the customers. And today, as I speak now, I'm seeing a few people from the Cosmos Innovation Center. They have created solutions, and I'm happy they are here because I'm sure they're trying to connect to some of the farmers. I see, who is here? Okay, I see Rotate, I see AgroPlast, and I see Farm Class. These are young people who are taking advantage of the vacuum, and I call it vacuum. It's a huge vacuum in our economy, and trying to develop products. AgroPlus, for instance, I'm not going to talk about the old guys. We have old guys who are doing great stuff. AgroPlus, these guys are trying to help us reduce plastics in our country, and especially on our farms. So they are coming out with solutions where we'll use some cassava, and then what else? Some plantain, to create plastics that we'll use on our farms, we'll use in our shops. That is agribusiness. You see, we're only limited to the production side, but there are so many things in it. Farm Class is also helping farmers, and I'm sure the farmers here, I'll advise you to talk to them. They have a great solution for you in terms of irrigation. Now we have serious climate issues. Some people want to admit it, some people do not want to admit it. That's very important. They have created a solution where you as a farmer, you can even rent irrigation services. It's agribusiness. And who else did I see? So we have all these businesses that have come up and they are doing well within the Cosmos Innovation Center space. What we would encourage is that let us add technology. And I'm happy we're having this conversation at the University of Ghana campus. Why am I saying that? I think the stakeholders have not really come together to find solutions that work for our farmers, that work for the business, that works for academia, and bringing everybody together to create that big solution that will help us move forward. So with it, I want to say thank you very much for putting this together. Thank you for bringing us together. There's a lot that we can do in this space. This space is growing. Let me take this opportunity to say that Cosmos Innovation Center is recruiting for our next cohort for 2020. If you know any young person, regardless the field of study, if they've gone through school up to the degree level, ask them to go to www.Cosmos Innovation Center. The application is there, or our Facebook, Cosmos Innovation Center, or on Instagram, KIC Ghana. Let them take advantage of some of these things. And in our program, we work with academia, industry, the farmers, the value chain actors, the supplier, everybody in it. And I believe that we all together here will be able to provide solutions for farmers, aggregators, processors, and people in the supply chain who needs our services. When Madam talked about aquaculture, we have a company called Profish Lojana. They are doing wonderful. What they're basically doing is connecting the farmers to the market. And now they'll be doing a backward integration where they're getting tools for the farmers to be able to manage their fish. How cool is that? This is agribusiness. We have a lot in our country, and let us press to do it. Thank you very much.
To benefit the AKUAFO, men so make can be any of us. Say, yeah, who are here for the non. Some are yet here, anyhow, I yet see it. And I'm just a little bit. And if you are saying to be a penny, Niagasa is not a Miyaki. Now, Niagasa, we are women also UPS. And I just about 2 years ago, I'm question is after LLB. During the interview, Professor Bako, where do you man? I'm so many PLE. Because if PLE, they will deceive the end. May come back, they say, perception I can once and below. And I'm so prof. And nothing I'm one of them might change the narrative. And we say also we need to be dressing because I am the most important. You are done. You have admission. Get up and go. What does that question here? Yeah, we are for now to have a route to play. Many of your first year, my actual say, a bra, who create who go program and 77 credits, and we almost have to return. We are humanity back for the part of a check. Tom Pagua, but life. Now I just say, hey, any agreement, I don't know more you can between two. Because we are not a sort of course, as we are check when I will repeat. Somebody said it doesn't take too much. Because program you can need it. Why not get power? When the farm. Or buy an ocean senior, or not your rascal person. I'm a fairly time, so many programming your 1 hour starting patch on your jump. Many of the one what's not very soon. You just have to make a conscious effort. Because you only said, I do a comment with you are forced to say you be using professionals. Your perception is that professionals are expensive and too costly. And not a benefit beacon. And yet too costly. Maybe say, my employer will be a BSc in agribusiness as my manager, my farm manager. He doesn't take too much. I give him 1,500. He's so happy. And he's working. My catcher said, look, 400 expand here, I will motivate you some more. The biggest motivation, the man said, may see a very portable place. Oh, farm. The farm will be out in the farm. Because there are some absentee farm, I'm making crime. Those of you doing the work can also stay home. And may provide a very nice, decent place. Oh, farm. May provide DSTV. Too much to motivate your workers to do well for you. Now, say I can't experience any years and without experience or only opportunities. As far as you know, who go out of but we have opportunity, no, I can go out practice. Now, say your platform, your one who's a practically at the university, who grab BS in agribusiness or baby attachment or a big farm. I want to send a private message. No, see, I'll provide you an opportunity. Will you take it? I have accommodation on my farm. Will you take it? I'll give you. I'll take it. They say, oh yeah. Wow. Every year, at least, I'll give 2 graduates an opportunity to come and learn on my farm. I also benefit from that. If you are, or what you say will be for 7 years, we will employ you. And these are basic things. Exactly. So, my expanding to the sense of me, I'm not going to it said there is a lot we can do. Max animal veterinary services, many full-time veterinary officer, but we are by a farm. Every month we have money 200 cities. We say every 2 weeks, visit my farm. If there's an emergency, I call him. If there's no emergency, it's still 200 Ghana cities and it's working for me. It doesn't pay tax for the 200. At all. In the 2 weeks, we have 100 Ghana because it's motorbike, motor fuel. And we are you went down one person walk and the air risky. If you are so big, no one can have a office. One time or one punching at it. Mammy, and program, it's Yamra Ghana. As of now, we are for this Yamra. who are when you qualified veterinary officer, you don't have any business doing that. And they said, Obaka said, me chemical store to be shop and you are simply not allowed. And you better so very professional because and you just straight for some shop and even the diagnosis, no, when that skill to diagnose the animal, to be able to know the way they have it, we want to find you. But I don't know what that knowledge. Exactly. And the American said, if we are from musicians, these are basics. Well, yeah, success is guaranteed. Yeah, a cat walk out and said, Mika said, I do a one. And so they said, I learn from my peers. We are near Shania. There be a man, it's not all. Maybe say, we come from a was there. There are about 35 farmers in a was. Between two farmers, now. Maybe our farm, we need to say, oh, we have maybe never see me turn on some best farm, maybe I will and you'll be surprised. Me and the farm, may start on me, yes, I didn't answer me. Me, but nerves so only a was farmers who meet your talk. I said, I have the best practice in people in a was. Because I learned from everybody. Because there's a technology now called the IMO, the integrated microorganic technology. That's what I'm using. Because we want my question, because I'm saying we instruct and we can start. Make a couple of man say I have a standard structure. And they say I have a and you learn from your peers. And when you learn from your peers, you always become best in their space now. We are very important. Lastly, they said there were very basic systems here. I was a once, you remember what a friend and a farmer, and you may want punch by 500 and break also. We are not only we have punch no me to me, can't open up so openly. You don't need much. Tagia, what Tagia Ponchilia? So what can I get yourself on Chihuahua? Catherine said, on trap picture. What's there's a phone? On trap picture, whether I want to tag up a database of every animal. And you want to me, we have got no kind of one. I'm attacking on good doing that. Okay, so the first is when we are called the veterinary officer. You should come and do an autopsy. Send me a report. Take a photograph with the tag number. Let me also go away and tag me that I deleted from my system. So, what can go to me? These are basic systems. I was saying, a poultry, just get a CCTV. It doesn't cost much. We can set poultry farm 10,000 beds. Near we are 500 beds every month. We invest in CCTV and you are better off. Let's learn to use professionals. Let's learn to use systems. We should learn from our peers.
I am the bad here. Dove, Asante, and Dove. Ubialaka, Bibi Apa, Smallholder. But in my own opinion, to be a farmer or easy, sitting your passion. If you don't have passion for farming, you can't go through it. Why is it? Because the smallholder, you go first and you go out to acquire the land. As you in the school, now we're interested to get a land of 1 acre or 2 acres to start. Fine, a bit more. Now they cease to plant. Bring your wife. Every day, as you plant, you have to visit the farm. Farm. Almost every week, twice. One or district makes you have a farm. And by the man said, 90 days properly here. The 90 days is what you days. All this while, who is financing you? Only so easy as we speak of it. Then another issue here, the risk. Most people won't farm because we see the risk here very high. To be one person of farming, yes, and it's an case can back again now. Till everything is gone. We started picking 1971. 1971. At that same time, also, never any contractor, good contractor in the ground. Why the spin takes road here and the wire the spin takes road. And then I see them loading. I see if they load. To Lashibi. Never make you or to a fee and the year pass. No, do here backyard. It's man, not a woman. But for them, if you can't temper, Namuko, Eduma, Mabel Mammy will feed him where I'm my washing the man. Guda, Nafi, and yet interested there. Moko, I have and also, group consortium, you got to come magazine dominance. You could do one now, you know, one now or him. Up at my son also, or put there on my baby, no Mr. Bad, also Mamma and before. No more as I see to all. Back here is good this you are, Mr. I'll be interested. Now, the no crib will see late. And I'm sure I'm interested in a job or come on 5 acres. Can sleep a acre. Can and do no more do baby and that tree. I am so high there. Harvest season, one harvest regularly. Eventually, one shall we have or just see me I have gone through so many phases of farming activity. As you see, I'm a seed grower. Fortunately for me, in the Mabati, wacky hybrid seeds, meaning that maybe me and my team who came from Central Region we may have to start with the hybrid as next year as things. Yes. And this year, the seed grower who will win back. Challenge your own this here in there. Great estate story and assassin now. Who or Chapel assassin cannot government or jail for seed extension. This year, but yeah. Estate full, what about Jim's races are then on my own farm? This is a pair of catch-all. Or maybe Tipatro, and me Gulu. I made you out for goat trap, copy. I never found the Baba now on the Subafa. So I think we need to protect your land base near the man. Be able to miss Libya, now for destroy her. Now, where do we go again? Tractors can only plow areas that are plowed. You have to go in forest. Forest, you have to bring down trees, cut down trees, and all those things, and you can't bear the cost. And see, I mean, be a farmer, smallholder, you know, a smallholder farmer account. Thank you.
I'm a guy. I married my husband in 1986. Without knowing his hometown. We met in Accra, we got married. After having all my children, he had a funeral. And he didn't even want me to follow him to the funeral. He knew he was coming from a very poor rural area, no light. But when he had left, I decided to follow. And on my way going, I saw vast lands that were not being used. It was almost a forest area. And I quite remember my dad was an engineer with water water. But he started corn farms, which is no more now. So we do a lot of farming, backyard farming in our home. And so when I got there, I told him that you have all these lands and you've never brought me here. And you know I want to go into farming. I did my first degree in child psychology at this university. So when I came back from that funeral, that was in 1997, I decided to do a second degree in agronomy. And I did that. And we got to a point, I said, I am relocating from Accra. I am going to your village. Whether you like it or not, I'm not going to stay in Accra. They said, what about the children? I said, I'm leaving them with my mom and I'm going to the village. He said he was not going to leave his job. He was a statistician at the Internal Revenue by then. I said, I am going. And he tried to frighten me and said, my people will kill you. I said, once they didn't kill you and I was able to marry you, I will go and farm. So he said, then don't go to my village. Go to the other village. I'm talking about Lipe. We have 12,000 Lipe. He said, he's from Lipe Aguzume. He said, don't go to Lipe Aguzume. Go to Lipe, Kwanta, and meet this friend and explain your ideas to that friend. So I went, met a friend, and he gave me like 10 acres to cultivate maize. It was even mountainous, so I planted the maize on a mountain. And the kind of field I had that year Nobody in that area. So they started calling me names that I brought which crabs there. But I did soil testing and everything before planting. So I knew what crop would do very well there. And then 2007, he called me and said, I want to join you on the farm. And I said, do your government work and collect your internship. I will also do my work. And I don't know what answered his prayers. He was involved in an accident and was hospitalized for 1 year in Hollywood. So when he came back, he had to go for physio. He said, let me do the physio on the farm. So we added rice and he started doing the physio. Now the other farmers there realized that what we were doing was doing very well. So instead of being proud, they started coming to us one by one. They wanted to find out what was going on, what we were doing very right, that was making our farms to do so well. So the smallholder farmers started coming. And you know, those water-raging men are always lazy. I would say it is cool. The women are very hardworking. So majority of the women came to find out what we were doing so that they also implement it on their small lands. And it actually worked. Now I realized that these small lands were not helping me. So being a forest area, let me get bigger lands, let me go into palm, let me go into cocoa, let me go into plantain. So I started 100-acre palm, I started 100-acre cocoa, and then 2013 I had the opportunity to travel up, that's the Quanta areas, and I saw vast savanna lands. And I said, no, I am going there. He told me that they are cucumbers and they don't like women. They will fight you as a woman. I went there, the very day I landed, they built the DCE's cars, they built the DCE's houses, and they were just killing each other. They don't fear blood. I waited when things got calm. I went to approach the chief, and the chief said, we have so much wetlands you don't use. If you want wetlands, take the wetlands. So I started cultivating rice there. And then I had the idea, let me bring these women, because the women were idle, so they have time to do nonsense. So I brought I brought all these women overboard, and I did you half an acre cultivating, half an acre cultivating, half an acre cultivating. And at the time of harvest, the women were surprised at what they got. And to tell you, to date, the women are now educating their children. And the men do only yam. So the women have work to do. They are doing maize, they are doing cassava. And apart from just doing farming, these women are doing agro-processing. They are adding value to whatever they are producing. And it has changed their whole perception. When the last time did you hear that cucumbers are fighting in Basa? They are now living peaceably with the Basaris, the Bato people who were there with them. And so smallholder farming, when we talk about that, you don't need to wake up and say, I need 100 million before I start the farm. No. Get a little land. Cultivate it, whatever you feel that when you do, it will be okay for you. Cultivate it. And you'll be surprised at the time of harvest. Because when you look at agri, it's the first profession that God created. And you just marvel, just putting one small seed in the ground and harvesting a full bag of rice. And then we came in, we had TechnoServe and Akari, that's the GIC program, to give capacity buildings to the smallholder farmers. And those who were getting 5 bags per acre, after training them, started getting 22 bags. From 2.5 tons per hectare, they were getting 4.5 to 5 tons per hectare. That is why now the Volta and the Otu region is the highest growing rice area in the whole country. And very soon we will stop importing rice. I had a chance to go to Thailand with Fred. And when we got there, we realized that the king of Thailand is a smallholder farmer. All civil servants in Thailand are smallholder farmers. Twice a week you have to be on your farm. The farmer is not the aggregator, is not the processor, is not the packager. They made it in such a way that if you are a farmer, yours is to produce. Aggregator will come and take what you have produced. And then the processor will take it from the aggregator. And then the one who is going to package will also take it from the processor. So everybody, there is no unemployment in Thailand. And when you look at the town Thailand, which is about 3 times, or Ghana is bigger than Thailand by 3 times. And Thailand is supplying rice to the whole world. And then we sit down in Ghana and we continue to use $3.something million every year to import rice. And then we are happy. And we are happy about that. When we can produce our own rice and make money, every smallholder farmer should go into rice and have valleys for rice and cultivate rice for our country. And I bet you will never regret. Actually, when we went to Thailand, they told us that the rice they bring to Africa has been stored for 20 to 30 years. And then when they are bringing it to Africa, they add perfume to it, which is a chemical. And they bring it. So compare it. Cook the rice today. By tomorrow, it becomes watery. Buy local rice and cook it 3 days, nothing happens to it. Why should we continue to eat imported rice instead of eating what we grow? In my house, we eat what we grow and we grow what we eat. So I want as a smallholder farmers to take a cue and let's support our country. Nobody is coming to build Ghana for us. We have to build Ghana ourselves. I have a few of my farmers here, and they'll tell you, I am so innovative. I do my everything. I have so many employees who are under me. I have students coming from University of Ghana every year to come and learn, level 300 going to level 400. They always come to my farm to come and learn. And through that, I was quiet somewhere. 2015, I was the national best agro processor. Processor, and 2017 second national best farmer. And I am doing everything small, and today I have a total of 6,400 acres. Yesterday I was on my way from OTVG coming to Accra. I had a call. I picked it was a foreign call, and the guy told me he's from Jakoparipai, which is in the Kwata North district. He said his father was a late chief, and he has 2,000 acres of land, which has been lying fallow for over 20 years, and he read about me. He wants me to take over that land, distribute it to the smallholder farmers, give them capacity building, and teach them how to farm very well, because they are Isaac. I should teach them how to farm. Teach them how to farm and let them farm very well. And because of that, he is coming down this November to meet me face to face so that we sign an agreement. Now, whatever they produce, he knows his share. I said, no problem, just come. So as we are seated here, let us not take this summit to be something small at all. It will send us places. If I had known that my husband is from there in 86 when I got married, by now the sky will not even be my limit. It will be
AKUAFO TV, the only agriculture channel. The only agriculture channel now. Yes. Mommy, thank you very much. I know that you emphasize on the youth because my issue is based on the youth most. Because yes, started from our secondary school. Because when you have money, now they want to punish you. They will say, go and read. Night reading and so on. So now I bet to you now you say farming is some kind of punishment to them. It's most of them are not willing to go into agriculture. Because how Mr. AKUAFO said now, even the farmers they are dressing their loan, but they pay them off. So please, let's talk to the youth, the JHS, the secondary school, let's talk to them. Let's renew their mind. Thank you very much. That's my humble.
Smallholders farmers groups. Marcus, is it expensive to implement the technology and the skill into our small farming groups? And also, what will be the added value the market price for the smallholders farmers? Thank you.
So I'm Queen, and I want to ask Professor Pamirai. I want to ask if you spoke about hybrid crops or hybrid seeds, and I want to know, we are acquiring a colleague of mine that's in Mampu right now trying to acquire some lands, and I want to know if we can start with the hybrid farms, like to start it just straight ahead, or to use the normal seeds or seedlings to cultivate maize and other cereals. That's what I want to ask.
Yes, my name is AKUAFO. I work for CSI Animal Research Institute. I want to talk to Professor on hybrids. We all know the importance of hybrids to our farmers. But working with farmers over the years, I realized that they have issues with hybrid seeds. One of them has to do with storage. They complain that when they grow the hybrid seeds, storage is poor. I don't know whether the Waki seed is special. I want you to comment on that one. And then also knowing the poverty levels of our farmers. You know that in growing hybrids, you need more fertilizers. And so what do we do? And one person said that some of the reasons why we don't invest into hybrids because of our weather-dependent agriculture. Because you have to buy hybrid seeds every season that you want to plant. You want to add more fertilizers. And then if you invest into all these things and then the weather fails you, it means that you are failing double. I don't want to say. And then also, you mentioned about taste, that in going through your breeding process, you did taste analysis. Our farmers still think that hybrid seeds taste differently from the local seeds. Is it real or is it a perception? And is the Waki one different? Thank you.
So, thank you for the question. I will try and address the issues you raised. One was on storage. The other was on high levels of inputs like fertilizers and so on and so on and so on. And that you have to buy seed every time and so on. Yeah, so let me try and answer as much as I can on the questions raised. So on the questions of storage, our hybrids, at least from what we have observed so far, because these are relatively new, they store quite well. Because the problems of storage are really the weevils that come to eat the seeds. But I need to be honest here and say we have not gone into actually studying that aspect. We actually need to breed for resistance to storage pests for them to really stand well. So that aspect we still have to look into, but our observation so far is our hybrids have got fairly hard seed, and it looks like it stores fairly well. We've been keeping some of these in the rooms, in our offices and so on, and they go on for quite a while without any damage. Then when we come to the use of hybrids, yes, it is true that you have to buy seed every time you plant, rather than recycling what you harvest. You see, when you look at it all in all, if you saw the figures I was producing, the assumption is that when you buy the hybrid, because of the higher yields, when you have done things of cultivating land and so on and so on and so on, you actually have a lot more disposable income that you can use now for other things, and therefore, overall, it should be more profitable. So that's really the argument, and we have to admit here that yes, there are vagaries of the environment, seasons fail, and so on. But those are the problems that we have in our environments. We depend on rain-fed agriculture. So, in terms of overall policies, if there was investment in supply of irrigation and so on in so many places, we could actually have a lot of advantage in the process. So there are problems. It's not like you say you go and grow the hybrid, these problems will go away. They will not go away, but I think on the whole, if you get a good season, you really hit it well. Because remember also, even with the traditional seeds, the seasons can also be bad and fail. But I showed one of the hybrids here, which is very short season. So a variety like that could actually escape the drought and therefore end up with a good yield. I'm hoping that I have tried to address all the points you raised. The one on the virgin land, you see, with virgin land, whether it is virgin land or not, my advice would be you take soil samples and it's assessed in terms of levels of nutrition in there. Because people think that with virgin land you can just grow without fertilization. That's not the point. I think you actually need to put the correct inputs for it to work well. So, on the virgin land, if you get the hybrid, if the hybrid seed is there, I would say go for it. You may actually end up with a with some very good yields. There was another point you raised, which I'm trying to remember. I think, oh, the taste part of it, yes. So I showed figures here of the panel of people who were chosen by people at the Food Research Institute and the Women in Agriculture Department and so on. They did the tests. And what I showed was a summary. And overall, in terms of taste, in terms of aroma, in terms of for all the products, it was bamboo, kenke, and cocoa. I mean, the results were good, and we compared with one of the least varieties, Parifaco, which is already in the system. And our hybrids were by far better than that hybrid. So that we have actually looked into in terms of taste. So I would say our hybrids were excellent when you compare the benchmarks of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Thank you.
So I'll just touch on the innovation and how expensive it is to come out with the solution. Actually, at the concept stage, so you have the idea stage and the concept stage. At the idea stage is 0, like so you come with your friends, you ideate and find whether it works. But there are tools to use to test whether that works, like using the business model tables to test all aspects of it, the business side, the market side, the cost, the revenue, to see all that is done on paper and it's not very expensive. The next stage is building an MVP. Is it to build it or for the farmer? Oh, for the farmer. To request. Okay, so what we've tried to do over the past 3 years is to make it a little bit cheaper than what the alternative is. So for example, if you're a smallholder farmer and you have 1 acre, instead of paying 160 cedis in the southern sector, because we aggregate for the tractor owner, we bring the price down a little bit to about 140. Because then it's numbers. The tractor owner is making a lot more money when they have a lot of farmers on their platform. So it's
a little bit slightly cheaper for the smallholder farmer. And there's not any other cost to it. And there are so many other benefits that we try to push on to the smallholder farmer. So for example, you request for a tractor on your farm and it breaks down. Normally, if you just find someone who had a tractor and you bring him to your farm and it breaks down, you have to wait until they repair the machine, right? But in our case, we will look on the system and give you the nearest tractor at no cost. So it's mostly no cost, and it's a solution that we think smallholder farmers can use without too much hassle. Yeah, it's convenient, it's accessible everywhere like Trotro, and it's affordable. Yeah.
So another point I think that was raised, which was the one on fertilization. So the hybrids that we have, we are using 60 kgs of phosphate, 60 kgs of potassium, and just about, and those are fairly moderate levels of fertilization, and they yield those yields of upwards of 9-10 tons per hectare. I think with that kind of fertilization, we are not looking at excessive fertilization to get high yields.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think the whole area of policy is a big concern. I think we are confident that what is missing in this model is the will of policy. I just want to throw this back at you. You see, we are talking about agriculture. In the economy, we have three sectors: agriculture, manufacturing industry, and services. All the things that we are talking of now is not agriculture. In agriculture GDP. Trotro is a service, right? The standards that we are talking of is a service. It goes under services sector. So this morning we've tried to talk about agriculture by solving the country's problem. And I think that is when we are not making a headway of what we need in agriculture. So it comes back to the issue of someone is offering tractor services. How might we price it? That is not agriculture. It is a service being provided in the economy. In the economy, what are the goods for service provision? But we try to put all under agriculture. So I think we need to start unpacking what we call agriculture so that we can address it and move forward. Because the issue of Ghana Standards Board, look, the farmers produces on a list. It's finished. I am aggregator, I'll go for it, I'll put it in the market. What has it got to do with the farmer? It is a service being provided, and these are state institutions that has failed us. And we are putting the blame on agriculture, in effect, the farmer. The farmer hasn't done anything. Are you sure if you are told the farmer that these are the standards and before you do this, it should be done that the farmer will not do it? Nobody is enforcing anything. We go to shops, we buy goods that are expired. Is it the one who brought in the item? It is the basic standards we are checking. So I think the issues we raised are very, very interesting. But let us not try and bomb all the issues as agriculture. You see, if tractor makes profit, we won't count it as contribution to agriculture. We are not. When you look at the agriculture we are talking about, is the production, maize, even the breeding. When the seed farmer comes in, it's a business now. I think we need to start engaging policy makers for us to try and discuss all these issues and try and understand the actors in the relationship with what we produce and what we call as agriculture. Before we meet them, if not, we will meet and we discuss the same issues. How can we be discussing tractor issues that Ministry for Goods and Transport are concerned about buses?
Isn't tractor a form of transport? But why is it that tractor, when we start talking about tractor, we say it's Ministry of Agriculture. Then Ministry of Transport is only the passes that we see. I think we need to be serious in this. Thank you.
At this point, I think that our guest speakers deserve a round of applause. They've been wonderful this afternoon. Okay, so Prof has an announcement. Let's get that quick before we move for our break.
So our break is coming up, but some people requested for certificates, participation, and so it's 20.
AKUAFO TV den samana aba munje aya munje asam foto samana ya de abramu amunje aya munje asam agriculture samana babo mayina munje aya munje asam foto samana agriculture munje aya munje asam ya de abo agriculture samana ya de abo AKUAFO samana ya de abo